What's going on, my fellow Jedi and Padawans? Welcome back to another Jedi gaming video. Thank you guys so much for coming back to the channel, and if you guys are new, welcome. Today we're going to be talking about a classic weapon inside of Destiny 2 that is back in the loot pool as our Nightfall loot this week, whether it be the Adept version in Grandmasters or the normal version in that Warden of Nothing strike. We got the good old Shadow Price. This is a precision frame auto rifle, 450 RPM, so we'll cover the god rolls for both of these inside of PvP, PvE, as well as both of the origin traits on this bad boy. So the first origin trait that we have is called Stunning Recovery. Stunning a champion partially refills your magazine, triggers health regen, and improves recovery for a short duration. So definitely nice for taking this into that end game content that has bunch of champions, GMs, master raids, stuff like that. Second origin trait that we got is Vanguard's Vindication. When we get those defeats, we're getting a small amount of health every single time, about 10 on each of those defeats. So good little perk that we got, but I like stunning a little bit more, especially in that end game content. But if you're just going through normal waves of enemies, going through the Pale Heart stuff, whatever it may be, this might be a good way to go if you're getting a bunch of defeats at once. Now, when we get into barrels for this, in the PvE realm, I'm going to build this thing out for that reload. Felt like the bounce, the stability and range on it and handling stuff like that felt very good, so I went with the reload masterwork as well as the small bore perk right here. Gives us +7 to stability and range, giving us some pretty even perks across the board, about 65-70 in both of those categories, so it was feeling way better than when they were down there in the low 50s. As for magazine, I personally pretty much always go with tactical mag. You can see the additions that we get on this: stability, magazine, as well as reload, so it feels very good in my opinion, especially compared to something like appended mag. We aren't getting nearly as much of the perks with reload and stability, even though we might get a few more bullets, so I usually always go with tactical. Now, in the third column, got a couple different options for you guys. First one, which is definitely my god roll, is the stats for all. Hitting 3 separate targets increases handling, stability, reload, and range for a short duration. Nice little perk, especially when you pair it with what I think the probable god roll is inside of the fourth column as well. Stats for all, 1 for all, match made in heaven. Hitting 3 separate targets gives you all of that you see here, plus that damage, so I would go with stats for all as your first option for PvE. Overflow is our second choice. I like this on my auto rifles, giving us about 80-90 shots in the magazine when we're picking up that special or heavy ammo, and usually we're getting this pretty intrinsically based on our heavy ammo finders, scouts, whatever you got on. So this allows us to have a good amount of ammo inside of the magazine to pair it with something like that stats for all, or 1 for all I should say, in the next column for sure. Last option for y'all is Strategist. Final blows with the weapon generate class ability. Activating our class ability gives this some increased stability. It does bounce a little bit, but it's really not that bad in my personal opinion. Feels pretty solid and pretty normal. Now when we move on to the fourth column, that first one, like I said, is 1 for all right here. Hitting those 3 separate targets gives us a nice damage increase, 35% for those 10 seconds. So this with stats for all, like I said, is my 5 out of 5 for sure. Gives us the best overall on this weapon, no matter if you're going into lower end content, higher end content, it works well no matter the activity. Second option for me, definitely more on the ad clear side of things, or if you're looking to just wipe out a bunch of stuff, get those stuns on champions on top of that, I would go with something like stats for all with Volt Shot here. Being able to get that nice jolt after we reload for defeats allows us to get a good amount of enemies to get cleared, so this maybe with that origin trait as well, Vanguard's Vindication might be a better combo because of the health regen, but I still like stats for all, 1 for all a little bit more. Trusty Dusty perk right here is Demo, obviously, especially if you're trying to spam those jolt weakening grenades, whatever they may be. Demolitionist, we're going to get those back a lot faster with defeats from this auto rifle, plus when we throw this we reload the auto rifle, giving us a little synergy there as well. So it is a very good perk just in general for the PvE realm, especially on something like an auto rifle here, LMG, something that you're putting out a lot of defeats fast instead of something maybe like a glaive glaive or a little bit less that you do have ammo resistance, or I should say ammo limitations on. But overall, for the PvE realm, I would give this thing probably about a 4.0 out of 5. Just nothing too crazy about it. Would throw it probably at the B tier, if you will. Just a good overall weapon. Arc burn for you guys for sure. Probably would be my go-to arc weapon, is either this or the prosecutor if I need auto rifles, but that stats for all, one for all is definitely the GOAT. Now when we move on to PvP, we're going to build this out for range. Like I said, with the slower shooting, I like the stability on it. Nothing too crazy. You could go a little higher if you wanted because of that flinch that we got incoming, but I go with small bore as our barrel plus 7 to range, 7 to stability, plus range as our masterwork, which allows this thing to have a 90 in the range, allowing it to, what I feel like, map guardians from pretty far away, especially for an auto rifle. Feels very, very good and crispy, even though it shoots a little bit slower than something like the summoner. Magazine, like always, if you guys have ever watched my build videos here for these weapons, going with accurized rounds gives us 10 range to this bad boy, giving us that stack, like I said, all the way up to 90. This thing feels so good inside of the Crucible when you have it built out like this for that extra little bit of range. Now, third column, first option for y'all is surplus. So we get increased handling, reload, and stability for each fully charged ability. Hopefully you're saving those abilities inside of Crucible, not just spamming them around, but you can see the different pluses that we get for stability, handling, and reload based on these stacks that we have. So 1, 2, or 3 abilities charged, we go in those down low. So it's totally a good perk, and what I think is one of the best for this column. Second option for me, and what I would probably go with, especially if you guys have the crates instead of just going around and having to get defeats with the overflow, but this will allow us to get a bunch of ammo inside of the weapon, so we can just map people left and right, go through 6s like it's no one's business. Absolutely dapping up guardians, but I think I like surplus a little bit more. With this would be my second option for sure. Now in the fourth column, this is really the only one we got. We have a second option in surrounded, but with gut shot straight right here, aiming down the sights increases body shot damage, decreases target acquisition. But with this auto rifle, it feels like it is just disgusting with that body shot damage because it's a slow shooting, hard hitting frame anyways. That little extra body damage allows you to absolutely map guardians, in my opinion, especially if you're not hitting your shots. With the little extra bounce that this thing has and that slow fire rate, it gives it just a little bit of extra oomph, in my opinion, especially when you're pairing it with that surplus and having all of those procced at ×3. Last, like I said, in this column, we got surrounded. Not as easy to get procced inside of the Crucible, but something like on shotguns, SMGs, auto rifles, if you're getting up close and personal, you can use this. But since it is a precision frame and we're building it out to that 90 range, wouldn't suggest surrounded as much, but none of the other perks in this fourth column really do it for me besides the gut shot straight. So surrounded as your other option, just as a little thingy. That's what I was actually using in the gameplay because I'm still waiting for a gut shot straight, but it is a very good gun in my personal opinion for the Crucible. Nothing too crazy. I still like the summoner prosecutor better. Would give this thing, again, probably about a 3.8, maybe 4 inside of the Crucible. Nothing too crazy for me on this weapon, but it is going to be a fun grind. Warden of Nothing, you can absolutely blow through this week. Did it in 15 minutes, so you can get a bunch of those golf balls, bunch of these rolls for y'all, get those god rolls, and crank out a bunch of good loot for your guardians. So again, appreciate all you guys. I will catch you guys in the next one. Don't be afraid to hit that like and subscribe button. Helps me out, helps the channel out a bunch. Plus y'all won't miss out on any of these guides, builds, stuff like that. So I'll catch you guys in the next one. Have a great weekend. Peace.